So HMRC is about to crack down on most self-employed individuals. And if you are not aware of this, you might become a target to one of their investigations. My name is Mubashir. I'm a certified accountant and an experienced tax advisor. So HMRC have started paying a lot of attention to the self-employed individuals like landlords, small business owners, and even online sellers and delivery drivers. And it suspects that a sizable portion of this group has been underreporting their taxable income. Basically, the last year's tax receipts amounted to £875.9 billion, which was £46.8 billion less than what HMRC estimated. Now, according to them, the main chunk of this tax gap came from the self employed group. So, as a result, they decided to clamp down and recover this missing tax. And what they have done now is that they have implemented advanced AI systems that I will talk a bit about later. And they are also hiring 5,500 new compliance officers who will be responsible for pursuing those individuals who may have underreported their incomes. Their main target seems to be small business owners, landlords, and anyone else basically with a side hustle. And the way they are operating is a bit creative. So, what they are doing is they are telling everyone that, listen, we already know. We already know what you're doing, how much you're making. So, don't try to hide anything from us, right? The way they are doing this is by sending out letters, which are commonly known as the one-to-many letters. And these letters, similar to the one that you can see on the screen, usually state something like HMRC has reasons to believe that you have not reported some of your income or that you have not reported your income accurately. And these letters are not sent randomly to anyone. Instead, they are targeted to those individuals that have been flagged by the HMRC's AI systems based on several metrics. The whole foundation of this campaign is based on HMRC's analytics platform, which is called Connect. It is an AI-driven software that pulls in information from multiple sources and looks for mismatches between what people report on their tax return and what the other data shows. For example, it can cross-check the income you report on your tax return with your property records to assess if you might have any rental income that you did not report. If you do online selling through platforms like eBay or Etsy, or do deliveries with different couriers, or even if you have listings on platforms like Airbnb, HMRC already has access to your data on these platforms because since the start of 2024, these platforms are legally required to share your financial data with HMRC. Connect then uses advanced analytics to match your income as per the data from these platforms to that which you have declared on your tax return. And if there is notable difference, the software flags your profile as high risk and there is a potential that you will receive this letter from HMRC. This campaign has proven to be so successful that 90% of HMRC's inquiries now are being triggered by such data analytics rather than random checks, which is a massive shift in how cases are selected now. One surprising metric that this system uses is assessing an individual's lifestyle and comparing that with the reported incomes. So, for example, if you own an expensive car but have reported very, very little income on your tax return, HMRC can access your DVLA record and potentially flag you as a high risk profile. Even more shocking is the software's ability to scan social media and image content to assess an individual's lifestyle and compare it with their reported incomes. And HMRC have confirmed this themselves that they do use AI to scan social media profiles, although according to them, they only do this for serious cases, but nevertheless, this brings a lot of concern about the level of surveillance and control the government has on our lives. So, what does this mean for you as an individual who might be running a small business or a side hustle? Well, in practice, this means that HMRC has more information on you than it has ever had in the past, and they are trying to get a complete 360-degree view of your financial position. Every year, their Connect platform is becoming more advanced and capable of reliably estimating your income, leaving you with very little room for error. And this approach has already brought in additional tax revenue, so we can only expect a continuation of this campaign, especially now with their plans to hire new compliance officers. And the performance of these compliance officers is measured based on the additional tax they're able to collect. So if they're If they open a formal tax investigation into your affairs, it is actually in their interest to prove you guilty. I have personally dealt with several of these investigations on behalf of my clients. And what I can tell you is that they are very, very time consuming. They're hectic. They will ask you for specific details and evidences. And especially if your financial data is all over the place, then this can be a big headache and a big cost to your business. So, how can you stay safe from the wrath of the taxman? Well, the number one advice I can give you is to use an accounting software and keep your financial records in one place and up to date. It is the most basic and the most useful advice. And when choosing accounting software, make sure that you're going for an MTD compliant software. And if you don't know what MTD is, I will not talk about it here since it is a completely different beast. And I will be making a video on this soon. But when it comes to accounting software, I would always recommend something like Zero or Free Agent simply because they are very user friendly. And if time isn't a constraint for you, you may even be able to do bookkeeping yourself and save decent amount of money. The other advice I have is to make sure that you declare your true full income, but please use tax planning strategies to reduce your taxable income. There are basic planning strategies that anyone can implement that would make a ton of a difference. And if you would like to know more about them, let me know and I would make a guide on those. But if you have an accountant, then he or she should be advising you on this. So make sure to talk to them about this. And if you don't have an accountant and you have received one of these letters from HMRC, I would always recommend to seek professional advice because this is not a letter that you can ignore and you must respond, because if you don't respond, then you do run a risk of a formal investigation being opened up against you, and that is something you don't want to get into. And finally, don't panic, especially if you haven't done anything fraudulent. These letters are sent on the basis of probability that you may have made a mistake on your tax return, but it does not mean that you have certainly done something wrong. And if you have made a mistake, you can always tell HMRC about this and explain the reasons for your assumptions that may have led to an error in your return. And in most cases, HMRC will not impose any fine on you, especially if you make a voluntary disclosure. So that's it for today. If you got any value out of this video, please consider subscribing as it really helps the channel to get discovered. And as always, thank you very much for watching.